Now, I have a pretty low budget, and the setup is just so that you can make music and do it effectively. And so I've kind of figured out what works for me, and it's pretty minimal and it's pretty basic, if you will, but let's go over it. So I got my little mini PC right here. I use this to make all my songs. My little mouse right there. I got my keyboard, and then I use FL Studio Mobile, and let's see how this worked. So the first thing that I did was record my voice, and I actually recorded my voice on a phone, so on my phone that I'm recording on right now, and I did that for the lyrics. So I typically write lyrics in my book, so I have a little notebook right here that I like to write things in, and so I took that and I wrote the lyrics, and this is what they sound like. If I put them all together and I solo it out, that is not the lyrics. I'm sorry. So it's actually not that one, but that's okay because that's fine. This is the lyrics. I took this and I recorded my voice on an iPhone. And so and that's what it sounds like. So if we just solo it out right here, I made some of them more like auto-tuned and robotic for funsies, like in my program. And then I made others a little more like organic. So like this one. It has like an octave, so it had like a lower voice and an upper voice kind of going at the same time. And so when we play it, that's the lower and the higher voice. And I liked this little radio filter type of vibe, this lo-fi type vibe. So that's what I did for all the vocals. So like listening. I have a little chipmunk voice in there. Let's see, this one. And I went for that style so that it fits with the song, because when you hear it by itself, it may sound a little weird, but together it sounds like this. And if you heard all the voices together without the background, so that's how I make the voices, and I did that all on my phone. And then from there, if I play the whole song, I actually recorded a piano through my program. So if we look over here, the piano's playing, and that's the chords. And I started with that. Have a little percussion in there. Then you have to try and make a build, right? So I try to make a build by putting all of the like chords, kind of stacking them up and making them, get excited with the voices. And I start out with like one singular voice, and then I move to having multiple voices because it makes it a little easier to like tell when it's building if you hear a lot of different voices coming in at once, because they don't all start out together. You want it to have some movement. So it starts out. And that's when it starts to build. So we have that, and then next we put all the instruments in and they start to build with the voices too, like this. And that's the drop. So there's like a little drop there. And I like to start out my songs with like a drop that's a little lighter and then going into like a heavier part of the beat. So like for that part, I made it like very light. And I actually did chop up the vocals that I showed you earlier, and I recorded them and I turned them into little bits so they actually make like a melody on the song like this. So that's actually just a voice chopped up. So if we take, that's from like the little chipmunk type voice, and I actually just shortened it into like a little vocal chop. And that's what they sound like. And that's with the vocals all chopped up. So that's what it sounds like. So in total, we have like the slow part of the drop and the quicker part of the drop to make it sound interesting. And I added like a Jersey Club sound just to like, because I thought it would be an interesting breakdown. Made it very percussion heavy, and that's basically the song. I mean, I did have like a little breakdown part. I like the second drop to sound different than the first one. Historically, all my songs do that. Well, a lot of them do. Some of them have like similar drops, but most of the time I like to make the second one sound a little different than the first one just to keep it interesting. So for like this one, this is what my second verse sounds like. And then here's the second drop. So I make it a little quieter, more halftime, and that's kind of the vibe. The last bit is kind of the same as it was, so I like to end on something that's a little memorable that the person listening remembers. So I have like this different breakdown that has not been heard before. Then you introduce parts that people heard before. And then that's the outro right there. So that's how I make these songs. I make them on a pretty low budget. I don't have a lot of like plugins or a special kind of tool. I use FL Studio Mobile, and this is what it looks like. All of my effects are off to the side here, and I can add effects that make it sound, you know, more echoey, have ducking, like auto ducking, if you not quite sure what that is, more like sidechain, where it's like wop, 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 the best way to explain it. But I put that on a lot of like my chords to make them a little more interesting, have a good movement. And like for here, kind of gave it like an underwater sound, kind of almost like underwater on like a video game. So I typically do it like that. That's how I've done these, and I've found it interesting to record these on a budget because a lot of times people feel like you have to have a lot, and a lot of times you don't. Like looking even at my desk, like I have a ring light while I record in my phone, and I always have Cookie Clicker on the side just so I can look at it. But in here, like I don't have too much going on. I don't have too many instruments, but what I do have is a way to record my voice, a way to, you know, put everything in on paper for like lyrics and everything, and then put it on the screen and work on it from there. And then I just mix and think about it from that way. A mix is basically how the song sounds, where each individual track kind of fits in together. So like when I mix, I like to have like more lo-fi, more underwater type feel for some of it, and then for some parts I like it to be more crystal clear, depending on what it is. So a lot of times this very stylistic on when I do that and when I don't. So like here, I have it very like low. And I have like air, like kind of playing in the background, but I want it to sound like that. I want it to sound airy. I want it to sound light. I want it to sound like it's almost like going through the sky or something. And that's kind of how I write songs when I do a more like bedroom pop. I want it to feel kind of homey in a way. And some people may not like that. They may more like a crystal clear, well, like high produced sound. But I'm not quite like that, so I typically like to do it like this. And this is how I made the song. And if you want to see me make more songs and know how the backgrounds of these songs are made, then let me know. And this was very detailed, very in-depth, and it was longer than I thought it would be. But if you like the longer video, if you like that idea, just let me know. I would appreciate it. And until then, I'll see you tomorrow.